everything that people label me as on this app, my mother was 10 times full, and I should not have to pay for the sins of her fucked up choices in life. That was her. This crazy Blanchard. I'm sorry. She was a fucking con artist, and she was a shit piece of mom. Like, she was not a good mom.
Being complicit in some...
I've always said if Dee Dee were still here, she would be crucified for what she did. Crucified.
Yes.
Absolutely.
100%. She'd be in jail. She'd be in prison. And everybody on this app would be talking nonstop shit about her. And there was
Hey guys, Becca Scoops here. How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are having a great day so far. I've got a great video for you guys. This is an important video. Some new things have been discovered on the front of the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case, and I'm going to get into that. And this is the kind of stuff that's really important. That isn't part of the gossip, isn't part of the, cultural stuff. Where the cultural stuff, like Gypsy being on Cameo and stuff like that, is important. But when we go to the motive of why Gypsy murdered her mother, we've got some new information, okay? And it's important. But before I get to that, this is kind of an important video. Before I get to that, Gypsy did go live today on TikTok, and it was all about trashing her mom. It was really disturbing, and we're going to go over right now really quickly because actually this ties directly in to the other stuff that I'm going to show you that I've been working on for the last 48 hours. If you're wondering why I didn't go live, it was because of this. I felt like I needed to get this video out first, and then Saturday night, we'll do a big Saturday night live on my channel so that we can discuss all of these things. Bring your questions. The format's going to be a little bit different. And yeah, we'll have trivia prizes, so there'll be some fun. But let's get this information out. Let's start talking about it. Let's give it about 48 hours for it to sink in. And then Saturday, we'll come back, Saturday afternoon, evening time, and we'll meet. If you can't make the live on Saturday, no worries. You can see the replay. But anyways, let me get right into this video right now and what happened today on TikTok. So I'm just going to bring up the first clip here, and then we can discuss. Okay.
Take your money. Well, stop praising a child abuser.
Yeah.
Period. Obviously, Gypsy here is talking about her mom. Stop praising. She's telling people in general, people that aren't in her camp, to stop praising a child abuser.
I've always said if Dee Dee were still here, she would be crucified for what she did. Crucified.
Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely.
100%. She'd be in jail. She'd be in.
Gypsy agrees with this take on one of her minions, that she would be crucified. And Gypsy says 100%. Remember, she's talking about her own mother.
Prison. And everybody on this app would be talking nonstop shit about her. And there was a creator that talked about that too, that made a video, and I shared it and I liked it, and it was, if the tables were turned and Gypsy never took part in the crime and it was just the facts as it's laid out, you would not be.
I want to pause it here. The whole point, you want to know what I think about the crux of this case is, it goes to her motive. The motive is everything. The motive, what we were presented as the motive, that her mother had Munchausen by proxy, and that her mother was systematically, medically abusing her whole life, is what got her the sweet plea deal. if not for that narrative, Gypsy would be in prison for life. 100%. Okay? So that's the crux. If there's no Munchausen, if she can't prove the medical abuse, then that needs to come out. No, she can't go back to prison. Okay? But at least the truth about who her mother was can be exposed to the public, and then there is justice.
Justice for Dee Dee. You would not be free, Nick. You would not be any of that. It is only because the one action that Gypsy did was ask Nick to do what he did.
That wasn't the one action that you did. You did several actions. You took advantage of an autistic man, and then you went ahead and lied about the motive. And that's what this video is going to prove. You went ahead and lied about the motive. Now, I don't know if it was a combination of your defense team presenting this as something that they could play out. I don't know. Regardless, now it's up to you to correct the record, because it is your mother. Was she a perfect mother? I've never said she was a perfect person. I've never said that. But the question is, was the so-called abuse so severe that a jury of your peers would say, you know what? Yeah, let her out in 8 years. I don't think so. Because you're not the only person to have a mother that was not completely the perfect parent, let's say, and they end up getting murdered by their child, and those people are still in prison because there's no perfect parent. And we're going to get to all of that in a minute.
And that is the pinpoint why you are against her.
No, it's not. But good deflection. Nice deflection. Nice try.
And it wasn't until after you got released and you built a following of almost 10 million followers. And
that I didn't even ask for.
Yeah.
And I didn't even ask for. A lot of people think a lot of those are bots anyways. But yeah, she's got a big following, and it's been steadily going down. They
built you, like one of my first videos I ever made, the one that you shared. They built you a platform just to pull it from under your feet.
So, So there's the first clip. Okay, let's get to a couple of these other ones.
She was a victim and a perpetrator.
She does.
Going back to, people saying, take accountability. Do you know, I think I figured it out why they say that. It's not because they don't focus on the fact that, yes, I took the plea deal. I pleaded guilty. I did my time. I did my parole time. I went to Nick's trial to try to get him a lesser charge.
Okay, let's talk about that a minute. Okay, this whole thing, she's now offering herself as the heroine in Nick's story because she went and testified in his defense. I have a question. Why did the prosecution not want you as their star witness? As most other cases go, when you've got accomplices and one gets a plea deal, usually part of that plea deal, and I've said this time and time again, but I'm going to say it again, usually part of that plea deal is you have to testify for the prosecution. But for some reason, the prosecution didn't want her to testify for them. And this whole thing about her giving of herself, look, I don't know if she was subpoenaed or not to testify for Nick. So no, it wasn't like a big heroic move on her part to go up there. You know what I mean? To go and testify for him. That wasn't any heroic move. She wasn't trying to get him off. There's prison emails where she even talks about that. Okay. But here again, she's got to make herself out to seem better than she is, and then twist this narrative. The prosecution didn't want you testifying. Why? Because you're not truthful. Because you could not add anything. They were scared to get you up there and that you would be then cross-examined. That's why. And it's a weird thing, because usually in cases like this, 99% of the time, the person who gets the plea deal is the star witness for the prosecution, not the defense.
In a lesser sentence as a defense witness. But what they are asking for, it's something that is, they want me to take accountability for actions and a narrative that is not true. They want me to say, you know, I did this. I was part of.
No, we just want you to tell the truth about what happened with the medical stuff. We just want you to admit that there's nothing in the medical records that shows that your mom made you deathly ill. And let me point this out. Now it's being now her camp is making a big deal saying, well, you know, the people, Becca Scoops and other people don't have all the medical records. You know what I do have? I have a thumbnail. I have a synopsis of them, right? So I have, and all of the ones that I do have, I can't find anywhere where Dee Dee has talked one doctor into doing anything. And we're going to get to that. You know how there's novels written, and then when you're a student, you buy the Cliff Notes? I have the Cliff Notes. And what that means is I have all the proof I need, unless you want to bring out the rest of them and show me exactly where your mother made you deathly ill. Show me where you got a procedure. Show me where you got a procedure that you didn't need. Because I've got, and I'm going to go over that in a minute, I've got enough of the records for the major procedures that you admit you had. I have enough of those records to prove how they happened, and it didn't happen because Dee Dee was coercing anybody into anything.
The, you know, con with my mom, I was in on it. They want that to be the truth.
I don't care if she was in on it or not. I mean, there's a lot of speculation about that. Again, other people can speculate, you know, at what point did she become it doesn't matter. What matters, again, is we go back to how she got out in 8.5 years. She got out in 8.5 years because they perpetrated a lie on the public that her mother had this disorder called Munchausen by proxy, and that her mother was making her deathly ill. And unless Gypsy murdered her mother, she could have been murdered by her mother. That's the scenario. And it's a lie. It's a lie. So I don't give a flying fuck if you were part of it or not. I want you to tell the truth about the medical abuse, because there wasn't any so-called medical abuse.
And I'm not going to take accountability for something I did not do.
Of course not.
That's just like when they, you know, this whole rumor and narrative that they want Ken to be gay. They are harping on that.
I don't care if he's gay or not. I just does not interest me in the least.
They've been harping on that, and they will not give up until he says that he is, but he's not. He's not going to say that because he's not. Just like I'm not going to apologize or take accountability for something that I didn't do. I wasn't in on the con with my mom. I was a pawn.
See how she deflects and focuses on that, but isn't addressing the real topic, which I keep going over. It's the so-called medical abuse, right? That part of it. And actually, in a minute here, we're going to hear where they kind of like take it down a notch, where they're kind of like saying, well, so what? Maybe there wasn't any medical abuse. Now they're going to switch gears on us in a minute, because I think they see the writing on the wall that pretty much they can't prove it. And it's very interesting what the new deflection is towards
her con. But everything that people label me as on this app, my mother was 10 times full, and I should not have to pay for the sins of her fucked up choices in life. That was her.
Nobody's asking you to pay for that. We're asking you to tell the truth about your mom. Just tell the truth. You can't go back to prison for it. Just tell the truth. Just tell us what happened.
Crazy Blanchard. I'm sorry. She was a fucking con artist, and she was a shit piece of mom. Like, she was.
Yeah, you know what? The more I get into I am very hard to convince on stuff about Dee Dee. I've always said she's got issues, that a lot of the parenting stuff she did with Gypsy was questionable. I have never stopped saying that. But you know what? The more I've delved into the last 48 hours on these medical records. I'm feeling kind of bad now because, wow, she probably saved Gypsy's life in some of the things she did, which I didn't know this before. So, yeah, was she there's different kinds of abuse, right? We're going to get into that. But when we're talking about medical abuse, which is how Gypsy got off, it was this thought. Remember, she told Dr. Phil all I've had over 30 surgeries. She told that other interviewer, I've been put under anesthesia hundreds of times. All of these things weren't true. And so, but those were the things that got her the plea deal. And so now she's coming back out, and now she's doubling down on trashing her mother again.
Not a good mom.
Being complicit in your abuse doesn't make you any less of a victim.
Exactly.
One
Like, yes,
talks
she was
about
a
proxy
victim of me.
website.
And notice how she's saying she's focusing on the con, right? And I've always said, yeah, it was a medical con. It wasn't Munchausen. So now she's going to see how this is a little bit changing now, because I think they've maybe gone through the rest of the records that they say that the rest of us don't have. And I'm going to show you a little clip of what happened that led me down this new rabbit hole that I went down. So that's about all on this video here. Okay. So a couple days ago, Gypsy's, one of her lieutenants, one of her BFFs, Bree, was up on a live with Quiche, the creator that had the issue with the other people that were Gypsy's neighbors, whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyways, there was a moment here on this TikTok live with Bree where she showed these, like, kind of, it was very like, let me just show you what happened. Here's what happened.
About her. 5'1". You see 5'1", 5'1".
Okay, so Bree is showing in this little box, and she's moving these are medical records she's showing that she says no one else has, and she's trying to prove that Gypsy, her motive for murdering her mother, remember from her memoir, was that her mother was getting ready to, right, her throat, right, in this surgery. And Bree is going to show barely, like it's all this jaded and mystery. She won't show the whole thing. She's just showing like a piece of it to prove it's all very suspect, to prove how this situation happened, that Gypsy wasn't lying about her mother taking her to the ear, nose, and throat doctor to get her vocal cords checked out, right? So this is what she's showing. Watch how she shows it. And then I did screenshot this, and I found out some very vital information from this.
Vocal cord dysfunction syndrome. You see that?
So you see it's highlighted there. It's hard. You have to get up close. It's highlighted in yellow right there. And yeah, vocal cord dysfunction syndrome.
There you go. 5'1". So it was actually before.
That was it. And if right before that, she comes on and she shows it. Let me back up right there. She's showing the date of it, and it's 5/1/2015. So May 1st, 2015, right? This is just a few days before the murder. So all of that clocks into Gypsy's story, right? Except, why did she show it like that? Why was it just, I'll show you how quickly she showed it again.
You see 5'1", 5'1". Vocal cord dysfunction syndrome. You see that? There you go. 5'1". So it was actually before.
Okay, so then she takes it off, right? Right. If this was it, why not make a whole video about this? Why not get all the records out and say, here is where they were getting ready to do the surgery. Here's what this was. And so, of course, me being a little suspect of all this, but excited, because my whole thing is how many times she's changed this scenario. She told Dr. Phil one thing. I'm going to get to that. And then in her book comes out, and all of a sudden we have this new scenario that she's going to this ENT specialist. in the Dr. Phil interview, she said it was about her G-tube. And I've got that clip. So now I'm going to show you what this actually is and how this is a problem now for Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Let me get that for you. Okay, so here's what I found out about this diagnosis. It's called vocal cord dysfunction syndrome. There it is. I've got it circled. And here's the date that it happened. Okay, all right. Well, what is it? What is it? And is this diagnosis, would this lead to surgery? Is this something that you have surgery for? The answer is no. Vocal cord dysfunction syndrome includes shortness of breath, noisy breathing, hoarseness, voice changes, coughing, throat clearing, and a sensation of tightness or a lump in your throat. Okay? So that's what it is. All right. What's the treatment? Well, speech therapy, breathing exercises, avoiding irritants like stress or allergens. There's even a behavioral component to this. All right. But it's never treated with surgery. Sometimes it's right there. Surgery is not a treatment for vocal cord dysfunction. So, but she wants you to believe, right? And we're going to get to that. She wants you to believe. And that's why maybe Bree was showing it so weird. Her lieutenant that, was showing it. Look, oh, here it is. Here it is. And then boop, rips it off the, yeah. All right. How is it, how it's, the dysfunction syndrome symptoms? Oh, we went over that. How is it diagnosed? So it was diagnosed because it had it on there as a diagnosis already. And so you have to do a physical exam, symptom review, test. Why I'm showing you how is it diagnosed is because this can't be just something Dee Dee goes, oh, she's got blah, blah, blah. I mean, how would Dee Dee even know about this? But even if she did, there's you can see how it's diagnosed. There's a real way to diagnose it. And the main point of this is you don't have surgery for this, right? You don't have surgery for this. So let's remember what Gypsy said now about why she had to kill her mom. Now that you know from the records, per her own person, her own lieutenant, what this diagnosis was. Now it's not a mystery anymore. Let's go back and take a look at what Gypsy said about this. This is from My Time to Stand. This was the final straw, she said. That diagnosis that I just showed you, that has nothing to do with surgery, that is sometimes like the other differential diagnosis with that is just asthma. This isn't a crazy diagnosis, okay? But here's what Gypsy said. By the time we got to, in fact, you want to hear this? Let's listen to Gypsy in her own voice from My Time to Stand. All right, here's the audio clip from My Time to Stand about why she had to murder her mom.
Oh, well, 91, but it's actually 1995. By the time we got to the ENT to explore the problem of my squeaky voice, the doctors had been conditioned to not question such a knowledgeable, doting mother. Or maybe they didn't want to face her attitude, the way family members did when they questioned her about my health. So a surgery was recommended to open up my throat to take a peek at my larynx. No biggie.
Now, there's another condition that's vocal cord paralysis. And paralysis is like they're paralyzed. So that's something that a doctor would have to diagnose. You couldn't just have a ruthless mom going in there and saying, I think my child's vocal cords are paralyzed. That does sometimes require surgery, but not not this other thing, this vocal cord dysfunction syndrome. Okay. So I don't know where she came up with this at, unless if she's in the doctor's office and the doctor's talking about like how this can sometimes go into vocal cord paralysis on rare occasions. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is what I showed you is the truth about that diagnosis and that there was no scheduled surgery. Show me the scheduled surgery. Show me the surgeon's notes preparing. That appointment was even called pre-clinic. It wasn't even a follow-up appointment, meaning this was like the first time they were discussing this.
After the beating in the alley, the 2 weeks tied to the baby voice, the doctors had been conditioned to not question such a knowledgeable, doting mother. Or maybe they didn't want to face her attitude, the way family members did when they questioned her.
I don't know if you guys know anything about surgeons. I used to work with heart surgeons, okay? They're the most arrogant assholes at times, right? They don't give a crap. Surgeons, they're the upper echelon when it comes to doctors. They don't give a crap what you feel or what a mother says. They don't care. They're the god. The surgeons are the gods, and you don't question them. And for Christ's sake, no mother would be running in there and get them to talk them into a surgery. I can tell you that right now.
About my health. So a surgery was recommended to open up my throat to take a peek at my larynx. No biggie. After the beating in the alley, the 2 weeks tied to the bed, the BB gun, the night in the shed, a lifetime of lies, spells, isolation, starvation, emotional manipulation.
Starvation. We're going to get to that in a minute too. Another little clip.
And medical procedures with life-changing side effects. This unnecessary exploratory surgery on my voice box
They don't do exploratory surgeries on voice boxes.
felt most threatening to me. Any slip of the hand could leave me voiceless, mute,
I can't.
forever. This is what I believed. This is what I felt. This is when the thought finally came. It's me or her. Hysterical, I pleaded with her to reconsider the surgery. There was no discussion.
There was no surgery. There was no surgery happening.
As usual. When we got home from that appointment with the ENT, I took 3 Oxy and craved the fantasy world Nick and I lived in. I messaged him. Do you remember when you told me you'd protect me from people who want to hurt me? I asked Nick over text. Yes, darling. Will you still protect me? Yes, Nick answered. Even from my mother? Yes.
So that's it. So just a refresher. Let's hear what she said when she was in prison to Dr. Phil about the final straw. Let's hear what the final straw was a few years before she wrote her book.
Well, really, my mother and I had got into an argument 2 days before, and it was about my feeding tube. I'm like, I no longer need this feeding tube. Can we please have it removed? And she said no.
The feeding tube. So this is about the feeding tube? Or wait a minute. No, I just heard that it was about going to the ear, nose, and throat doctor, and you thought your throat was going to be cut.
And I had got into an argument 2 days before, and it was about my feeding tube. I'm like, I no longer need this feeding tube. Can we please have it removed? And she said no. And I had an upcoming surgery, and I didn't want to have it, so I asked her, please tell the doctor I don't need this surgery. I've had it 20 times before. Why do we have to?
I've had this surgery 20 times before. Now, we know the only thing that happened was her mom took her to the emergency room to get her feeding tube replaced, right? That's what happened. And here she's talking about her feeding tube. And it seems like Gypsy conflates surgery also with procedures. She conflates a lot of things. So having your feeding tube replaced isn't a surgery. And so I just wanted to show you guys how her story changes as we go on. All right. I wanted to also bring up a few other medical things that have had people like not understanding stuff. So I'm just going to take them in the order I have them here. The next thing is, why did Gypsy wear diapers? Well, we found something out here that she had this vesicorectal reflux. All right. And what is that? It's a condition where the urine flows backward from the bladder into the ureters. Okay. So just really quick, you have like your kidneys, and they have like these small ureters that come down to your bladder. Okay. And so let me just here. So you have your kidneys, and they've got like these small ureters that come down like to your bladder. Okay. And so in the bladder, the urine's coming back up. It's back flowing. Okay. And sometimes that can lead to incontinence. And so this is why Gypsy was wearing diapers. This is one of the reasons, I guess. Okay. And the other thing that I found out here, as you see here on this thing I made here. Oh, well, that's not good. I need to be, hold on. You see where she, and here's the thing I thought was made up. She did have a heart murmur. I found where she had a heart murmur. Okay. It's called a Stills murmur. All right. And it was a grade 3, and the grades go from 1 to 6. And so this was a little bit significant heart murmur. All right. And both of these issues, the bladder issue, the urine backflowing, and the heart murmur, can resolve with age. But the point is, here's straight from her medical records things of reasons why. Okay. And so I thought I would share that with you also. I didn't think I was like a heart murmur, and then I found this little note that I hadn't seen, that she had the Stills murmur. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. Now we're going to get to some really interesting stuff here. I found out that she had a diminished gag reflex. And why is this so important? It's huge when it comes to the reason she had to have her salivary glands removed. And I'm going to walk you through this as quickly as I can. Okay. So the top portion there is the doctor's notes saying the gag reflex seems somewhat diminished bilaterally. And then the next part, I wrote out what the doctor wrote. Her nocturnal episodes of coughing, gasping, and gagging, I think, are most likely due to the impaired swallowing mechanism described above. Now, I wanted you to look at the date, January 14th, 2004. And why is this important? Because remember, the allegation against Dee Dee is she did these things, talked doctors into these surgeries. And one of the main surgeries, was the salivary gland removal. All right. Look at everything they did before they got to removing a few of her salivary glands. The first thing, under plan, the first thing is they gave her medication by mouth. Okay. I think I have the next thing they did. Hold on, you guys. Hold on. I think I have a better chart that's going to show you the exact dates. Okay, before I get to that next chart, I want you to see this. A diminished gag reflex can cause hypersalivation. Hypersalivation, right? Too much saliva, because it impairs the body's ability to manage saliva, leading to drooling and the inability to swallow normally. All right, now let's see the course of action the doctors took before they ever removed a salivary gland in this case. This is the medical interventions for the gag reflex, the swallowing issues, and then the salivary gland removal. On January 14th, 2004, they prescribed the medication by mouth for the hypersalivation. At that same appointment, the doctor orders that Gypsy undergo a barium swallow test to see how impaired is her swallowing mechanism. 2 weeks later, on January 27th, 2004, the barium swallow test happens, and in the notes it reads, patient exhibited significant difficulty in swallowing all consistencies of food. only small quantities were able to be swallowed without spitting out the food. So there you have it. It is the barium swallow test happens, and that's the outcome of it. This has nothing to do with Dee Dee. Then a whole year later, over a year later, we see a doctor writing notes that after that, they started Gypsy on these Botox treatments to see if the Botox could help manage it. And a whole year later, in March of 2005, the doctor writes, patient receives Botox therapy to her major salivary glands with good results. Major medical records indicate Gypsy Rose Blanchard received several rounds of Botox. So the issue pops up in January 2004. Almost a year and a half later, there's no surgeries happening. They're treating it with first medication, and then they decide to use this Botox treatments. This has nothing to do with Dee Dee. Real tests happened here. Doctors examined her. Her gag reflex was diminished bilaterally. You can't fake that. You can't fake it. She was having these issues. And then see down here, number 4. So here's the time frame. So in March of 2005, she's still undergoing the Botox treatments. Hurricane Katrina strikes in August of 2005. So somewhere between March of 2005 and August of 2005, she saw Dr. Carla Brown for the removal of her salivary glands. I don't have the exact date, but I know before she got to Missouri that her salivary glands had been removed. My point here is, does this look like a mother who is pressing doctors to do something? There's nothing in the notes that says mother is hyper focused on blah, 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 blah. There's nothing like that. And so I would say this is the most major surgery she had. And we're going to get to that in a minute too. Let's just go to that. Okay. Here's the surgical procedures. Now, except for the 4 eye surgeries that Gypsy already admits that she needed. And these all happen before she gets to Missouri. She had like the dental things in Missouri, but basically, and that's her own drawing there of her scars. In 2001, she had the muscle biopsy. That's a biopsy. Okay. It's not treating anything. They were looking to see, they knew that she had this chromosomal issue, this genetic issue. They were trying to diagnose it. And so they did a muscle biopsy to see if she had muscular dystrophy. She didn't. The next thing, but she had all these issues with swallowing and with her digestive tract. You guys know I've talked about this many times. And there's many studies that have, tests that went on to diagnose all that. The next thing she had was a laparoscopic procedure called a Nissan fundoplication. Okay, that's not even, laparoscopic. That's like these little tiny, incisions. Usually there's 3 or 5 of them. And then in 2001, she gets the G-tube placed. I went over how she needed that, how she was 36 pounds at 9 years old. And then after getting the G-tube, her weight dramatically went up, which it should have not gone up if Dee Dee had Munchausen and was trying to make her ill. And then sometime in 2005, she had the salivary glands removed. And these are all tied to the microdeletion. All of these situations are tied to the microdeletion. Okay. Another thing that she was diagnosed with was, this came from the muscle biopsy, is type 2 fiber atrophy. Now, a lot of people think, and this causes hypotonia. Hypotonia is just low muscle mass. Okay. And part of this fiber atrophy could have affected why she wasn't swallowing right. The weak muscles, the weakness. And this is part of the microdeletion. And it says here, connection between the type of microdeletion Gypsy had and muscle weakness. One of the most common neurological features of the microdeletion Gypsy has is hypotonia, or weak muscle tone. This is a general term for decreased muscle tone and specific muscle fiber pathology. So it's actually a thing. It's actually not just because of disuse, but they can see the muscle fiber issues in the pathology. Okay. Like type 2 atrophy is not systematically described as a feature of the condition. Okay. So it's not directly linked to the type 2 fiber atrophy is not directly linked to microdeletion, but low muscle tone is directly linked to microdeletion. Okay. So, and no, this is not, some people have said this, it showed that she had muscular dystrophy. No, that is not true. It did not show she had muscular dystrophy. This diagnosis, type 2 fiber atrophy, I have that down there highlighted in blue. If you want to pause to read, it is not a diagnosis of muscular dystrophy. Okay. Now, I want to show you one more thing that I think you guys are going to find really interesting. Remember how Gypsy said and Melissa Moore said she wasn't eating, she didn't eat real food, that her mother was withholding food and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. There's another YouTube channel. It's not very well known that people have brought to my attention. It's like an AI person talking, but it has really good info. A lot of the info I've covered. It's called Billy Knox. And I got this, even though I have this phone call somewhere, I did screenshot or screen record this from this Billy Knox video. Her name's Billy Knox. I'll put the link in my description box. She does a huge 8 or 9 part videos on the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case. She covers it in much of the same way I've covered it. So and she's got some good information. So go ahead, you guys, go ahead and go ahead and take a look at it. But here's about Gypsy and her eating cheeseburgers.
Do you eat meat? I do.
Now, this is, remember her, this is a jail call. This is right when she gets to jail. So she hasn't had time to, acclimate herself to eating a lot of different foods or whatever. And so she's talking to her Aunt Celeste, Dee Dee's sister. And I guess Dee Dee was a vegetarian. And so Celeste is inquisitive, like, well, what kind of foods do you eat, Gypsy? And so this is the what they're going to talk about here. Celeste is going to ask her, do you eat meat?
Do you eat meat? Huh? Do you eat meat? I do. Yay! I like cheeseburgers. Awesome! And she was a vegetarian, her, so say, but
She's talking about her sister. She was a vegetarian.
yeah, no, I like cheeseburgers, and I'm drinking a lot of coffee. That's the one thing, you can order a commissary over here.
So this whole thing that Gypsy describes really liking cheeseburgers, obviously she wasn't fed a whole bunch of cheeseburgers over in the Waukesha County jail. This is because she was eating, okay? She was eating stuff. Now she had difficulty swallowing. Remember the royal mashed potatoes? The royal, there's a scene where Gypsy's a kid eating what's called royal mashed potatoes at Disney World. But she did eat. And so this notion that Dee Dee was somehow starving her, then we've got Gypsy at the interrogation talking to the deputy, oh, I was, dancing up and down Main Street and I ate so much candy. And we had these, and she talked about these restaurants they were patronizing at Disney World and how all the food was great. And so this notion that Dee Dee was taking away food from her or she somehow was starving her. No, Gypsy had real difficulty swallowing and maintaining her weight. And that's why she needed the G-tube. So I just thought this was interesting. It's from that new channel, Billy Knox. Go ahead. You might find, if you're really, really into the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case, she goes over a lot of the timeline and makes some great points. So I'll put the description in the description box. I'll have the link to that channel. Okay. Now, I think I didn't go over these. One other recording that Gypsy had from today. Maybe I did. Oh, no, the crash out one. I didn't.
But just like me, she was a victim and a perpetrator.
So she's talking about her mom here, saying her mom was both a victim and a perpetrator, and that she's just like her mom. She's a victim and a perpetrator.
Okay. So can we not glaze over the fact that she hurt lots of people by conning them and lying to them and scamming the system?
Notice how she's now turned everything to conning the system. We are no longer talking about how she medically abused me. We are no longer talking about how she had over 30 surgeries. Now we've gone and we've deflected now. We're not going to talk about that anymore, right? Because all of that's been debunked. It's been debunked. And so all they have left now is to go ahead and say Dee Dee was a con woman. And the question is, did she deserve to die for pulling a medical con that enabled Gypsy to go to Disney World and go on these great trips and stuff? That's the question. So are you saying now that because you didn't get to go to slumber parties and didn't go to regular school that you needed to murder your mother? Because I thought you snapped. I thought it was you or her. I thought she was about to kill you. And that's why you had to murder her. And that's what the justice system thought. And that's why they only gave you 8.5 years in prison.
Before I was even born?
Yeah.
Like, that's not something I'm sorry, I'm not going to praise a child abuser. I'm not going to understand why people are defending and saying justice for Dee Dee. Her killer is in prison.
Yep.
And then,
Yeah, you made sure of that.
You'll never hear us saying that either, Gypsy.
No,
because as far as I'm fucking concerned, she got her justice.
and her judgment is going to come from God.
Yep.
You know, I don't know where she is, heaven, hell, I don't care. That is God for him to judge that. It's like, I'm sorry the crime happened. I can't take it back. I could be a better person going forward. Yep. Which I can't apologize for the sins of my mother. You know, I've tried every which way to say, hey, I'm sorry that this is the life she chose to live. And I'm sorry that I was, you know, a part of it in the fact that I was her pawn and being used along with everybody else. But that is not something I can continuously apologize for. I have my own life to live. I have a kid. I have a family, and I've got a life to live. I'm sorry. And I'm not, deal with it. Like, just deal with it.
Yeah. Amen.
And to
Amen.
those times, I'm so sick of Gypsy having to get off the internet because y'all feel like it should have been a part of. Well, it wasn't. It wasn't a part of her. And even if it would have been a part of her parole, she's not on parole. You think they're just gonna when you serve your time and you get out, they don't sentence you to punishments during your life too. Oh, and you're never gonna be able to go online. Oh, well, that's how she committed the crime. No, that was her escape. That was her escape from her reality. You know how y'all got to, not all.
No, I'm just going to play just a minute of this, but you're going to see the lieutenant crash out here.
Whoever got to go outside and go to a friend's house. She didn't get to do that. So she escaped online. Fucking deal with it. And if I hear one more thing about anything sexual, she was in her fucking 20s. She could be sexual as she fucking wants to be. Y'all are weird when y'all talk about that. That's weird. Like, I don't understand what's weird about anything sexual that ever went on in Gypsy's life when she was an adult trapped in a fucking child's life. That's for that. I had to mention that because it's fucking annoying. But yeah, I'm proud of Gypsy for coming back on this app because she wanted to be. And if she don't want to be, she can get off. She can reactivate and deactivate every other fucking day. And guess what? Who gives a single fuck? If you don't like it, unfollow her. Y'all so mad that she has a big following? Go be mad at the people who followed her then. Did she? She never created the big following. People followed her. She never asked them to follow her.
Yeah, maybe a wellness check? I don't know. All right. All right, you guys. I think there's one other thing I wanted to show you too. Hold on here. Oh yeah, here's where I'm going to show you where the abuse narrative now changes. It's no longer the medical abuse, but just abuse in general. Here we go.
I'm just making. I need to make that point to people because people need to stop digging into and picking apart things about your life that literally are so irrelevant. Because even if every fucking thing that ever was done to, even if every surgery you ever had was necessary, nothing that you ever had surgery for would be something that somebody would have to have care for 24/7, be in a wheelchair, have their head shaved, and live with their mom for their whole entire life. Even though we know, the people that know the truth know that there are many things that weren't necessary, even if they were all
many things that weren't, but a lot that were. So we're getting, see how it's we're changing now. Now she's going to change the motive. Now is no longer the medical abuse, but here is what the new motive is. This is why she had to murder her mother. Listen to this.
necessary. None of them, nothing that you ever received, any kind of medical care you ever received, ever. None of that is something that would hold somebody back from having a normal life. Even if you needed a wheelchair, even people in wheelchairs live without their mom. Even people in wheelchairs get kids. So y'all need to stop picking apart someone's fucking abuse. Take a fucking seat and realize that nothing y'all say would ever validate what Gypsy, like, what was done to her. So
no, nothing that happened to Gypsy truly happened to her would validate murdering her mother. That's the bigger crime. That's the crime.
So give it up. I mean, even if she needed it, maybe her hair was just falling out. Guess what? It still doesn't mean that she needs to live with her mom and not have a relationship and grow up and have friends and have slumber parties and go to school.
There it is, a slumber party and go to school. So now, because she didn't get to go to school, because she didn't have slumber parties, Gypsy obviously had to murder her mother over those things. Is that what I'm hearing? Is that the new thing now? Wow. Yeah, I don't know how that would have held up in a court of law. You know, people of the jury, Gypsy didn't go to slumber parties. She didn't go to regular school. So obviously she needed to murder her mother. What say you? 8 years? Yeah. Save it. Save it. Because you can deflect all you want. I'm not going to stop with what the true motive is here. Okay. It was never the medical abuse. It was a boy. It was her obsession with men. It was she wanted to go be with Nick Godejohn or Dan Glidewell or whoever the hell it really was. Everything, all of her behavior, the online behavior, the obsession. And she picked up the BB gun thinking it was a real gun and pumped 10 rounds into her mom. It was over Dan Glidewell. That is what got her passionate. And I have in my cliff notes of the medical records I have, it reads like textbook, a concerned mom trying to figure out what's wrong with her daughter. Now, on the side, was she pulling a medical con? Hell yeah, she was. I agree to that. But now we're murdering her over no slumber parties. Yeah, and they wonder why we don't want her on Cameo giving advice to teenagers. Right, guys? All right. Little housekeeping here before I go. One of my friends on the internet is Apple Charlotte. Apple Charlotte contacted me. If you don't know who she is, that's fine. I'm going to put a link to her new YouTube channel. She asked me for a favor that something happened with her YouTube channel. I'm not the best person to tell the story. She is, but it got taken down and it's a whole big long story. But I've got the link to her new channel. So if you are one of my people watching this and you know who Apple Charlotte is, if you don't worry about it. But if you do know who she is and you're wondering what happened to her YouTube channel, I'll have the link in the description box. This is her new channel. And she's, very devastated that, obviously anyone would be with their YouTube channel gets just taken out, gone, wakes up in the morning and it's gone. So if you're a follower of Apple, if you're a friend to Apple, go ahead and give her a follow on her new channel. All right. Now, the next exciting thing that I wanted to bring up, hold on here, one more thing. Don't go anywhere. Hold on. Is that Saturday night, this coming Saturday, I'm going to be going live. We're going to discuss some of the things. I'm going to go more in depth to these new medical things that I found out. If you guys got questions about it, if you guys got comments about it, email me ahead of time. I can, read them on the live, or if you're going to be in the live, I'm going to make sure that I can get some questions to me this time. Okay. Sometimes I get really overwhelmed, but I'm going to try to do a different format on this live. So that's going to be coming up here. Facts Don't Lie, Saturday night, time to be determined. Probably I'll get the time out tomorrow, Friday. So make sure you guys have your notifications on. They have a little notification thing here. Let me find it. Where is it? Like and subscribe. It's not notifications, but like and subscribe if you guys will to my content. I'd really, really appreciate it. But that's going to be coming up Saturday night. I'll be going live. Don't miss it. But if you have to miss it, I understand. You know, you might have a hot date or family things or whatever, but you can catch it on the replay. Okay. If you guys have, and please, I'm loving the emails. Please, email me at beccascoops@gmail.com. I love reading the comments on the air. So we're going to get back to that on the live on Saturday. We're going to double up on comments and interesting emails that I've received. And another kind of a announcement about the media campaign that Lori and I have been working on. I can't tell you too much, but I'll give you a little update about that. It's very promising, guys. All right. Well, that's going to do it for me. That's going to do it for Becca Scoops. I hope you guys enjoyed this content. Please, here I'm going to do it. Please like and subscribe if you like this content. And if you don't, then don't like and subscribe. All right, guys. I will see you on Saturday. Becca Scoops out.